and hay production. And I think that might be my last one.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. We're going to bring everybody up and have a question session at the end. So we'll hold questions until the end. Our next speaker is Jesse's brother, Irvin. And Irvin is a tremendous grazer. And he also has a grazing dairy, but he's organic, so that throws a little extra effort into maintaining strong stands on that farm. And Irvin's going to talk a little bit about that. I love to visit with Irvin, except he always asks me questions I can't answer when I go to visit the farm. So this is forward, backwards, and then this is the pointer right there.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Irvin Raymer. I'm not much of a speaker, but I enjoy coming to these events to learn, so I guess I got to share a little bit too. This is my farm here. That's actually a chicken house right there, and I have organic chickens for egg production, and they're required to have like 108 square foot of pasture, so they're called pastured egg. Then the dairy is in the background. You can't see the dairy behind the barn there, but is that supposed to be on?
Do it one more time, then we'll bring the next one up.
Okay. Yeah, like I'm an organic dairy, about 84 cows on an all 4-H diet. That was kind of an experiment too. With the organic milk market was kind of long on milk. So I decided to experiment and go to an all 4-H diet, which would make less milk, but my components of the milk actually went up. So I was still making good money on it. 200 acres, 160 grazable, and another 20 additional acres that I rent for hay. I've been using novel endophyte fescue for the last couple of years. I like mixtures. With organic clover is really a must for nitrogen, and I really like clovers. I put clover and chicory, red and white clover and chicory in my mix, and I also put bluegrass in. I like a couple pounds of bluegrass just because it really takes a beating, and if you do get bare spots, hopefully that will fill in where I don't get the weed suppression. So I want no bare soils. That's kind of the trick to having less weeds. I have about 30 acres of Kentucky 31. It's on steep hillside ground, and because I can't spray, and I don't want to disc it because I'm afraid the hill would fall off. So I do stockpile that and bale graze on there. So this winter it was wet and got kind of plugged up, and a lot of people was not so happy about that, but that didn't matter so much to me because I was getting rid of Kentucky 31. Then just yesterday I broadcast some more fescue seed, which was fescue, the endophyte free, and red clover and a little bit of chicory. I like to put some clover on every winter, and that helps a little bit with the fescue too. And I got 20 acres of annual ryegrass and rotating with crabgrass. The annual ryegrass got red clover in mix into it. So hopefully I'll have the red clover with the crabgrass after the annual ryegrass is done. And that's kind of a research project. It's actually going pretty good. So then I got 40 acres of bottom ground. And right now, some of it's in annuals, not quite all of it. But eventually I'll go to novel endophyte down there. Probably a mixture too. And yeah, I got organic lean heads. There's the diagram of my farm. Oops, going wrong way. Pointer. This is the top part of my farm, fairly flat, slightly rolling. Right here's the farmstead. I'm at the end of a dead-end road. Then right here is my steep hillside ground, and down here's my bottom ground. And those lines on there is actually, this picture was taken right after it was towed, so those lines are my towel lines, drain towel. And there, it's thinning stands. That's something you don't really want. Part of that does come if you, I think part of that was from my chicory that I seeded in there. It was a little bit too much chicory, and chicory does shade some. And maybe with a new seeding, you shouldn't put so much chicory in. There he put Clumpy stands down. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say about that, but that field, when I seeded that, it was some annual ryegrass in there the year prior to that, and it did reseed. So when I worked the ground and got ready to plant the fescue, the annual ryegrass came with the fescue. So it had competition right to start with, and it left more bare soil. I tried to graze it fairly hard because of the annual ryegrass so that it wouldn't smother the fescue out. And there's another picture of that stands a little bit older. Right there, I put a towel line in and tilled it and reseeded it just last fall.
So these pictures were taken last week?
Yeah, it was. Chris was out there. So, this pasture is ready to put cows on, but if it's too wet, then I don't want to go on there and plug them up. But right now, I could, if this rain holds off, I'd be ready to turn the cows in on there. There's a project I was working on this winter. That's a tine weeder. The orange part here. I've seen this advertised I picked up a flyer. And there's a company from Australia that makes these, Einbach. And they're really into grass management. So I thought this is really something I would like to get. But the seeder that went with it was more expensive than the tine weeder. And I got a 10-foot one. I decided I can maybe rig up my own seed box. So I had a 6-inch seed box small seed box to go on a drill. So I just took the bottom part off. It was just like a 6-inch box, and I built this bigger box around it. Then right there is the gearing I put on. It's a hydraulic hose run off of the gauge wheel. Then right here's actually a lawnmower transition, and then a sprocket that's interchangeable. So I got 20 speeds on there. But the idea of this was to, instead of continuously renovating thinning stands, is going in there and adding a couple pounds of seed every year. And hopefully, I guess this is a new experiment, so I'm not sure how it's going to work, but hopefully I can thicken up my grass stands enough where I'll have a solid stand and eliminate weed pressure. And there's another picture of the towel line in that fescue field, and right here's where I seed it. And I also got some buttercup coming in there. And so I'll have to watch the buttercup don't overtake that. I always have this question, how much residue should you leave? And really in the springtime, you need to take it a little bit harder to help it tiller. But you don't want to take it too hard where you get too much sunlight to the soil. Part of my thinking here is if you have a good, now I don't want to graze real tall, but I want to leave a little bit more residue there. I think a lot of people say 3 inches. I think maybe a little bit more wouldn't hurt. In the summertime especially, if you have a good thick stand there of cover across the ground, this is a project for the research, but I'm wondering how much difference in temperature the soil is under a good stand and where you get sunlight to the ground. If it's even 10 degrees on average difference, how many extra growing days would that give the grass to grow? So I think that would be a big difference there. And there is a new seeding from last fall. I usually seed 2 different directions. This one I did 3, one this way, one this way, and one this way. I had a little extra time or something. The idea of that is if you do it this way, you know, if it's a 6-inch, then you got and then do it this way, then you got a 6-inch square. If you do it that way, you cut that square in half yet. So it thickens out faster. And my idea is to get ahead of the weeds, to thicken it up where I don't have weed pressure. And I think that's it.